What if I told you there's a place where the bell hasn't rung in over 100 years, and when it finally does, something terrifying is released? A village buried in silence, a belfry that's been locked for centuries, and a stranger who made the mistake of reopening what was better left closed. Mysterious setting. Introduction. There's a forgotten village, tucked deep in the woods, far from any city, any map, and any help. The kind of place where time stands still. Dirt roads, cracked stone cottages, a silence so heavy it feels like the trees are listening. At the center of it all, there's an old church. Its roof is caved in, the windows are shattered, but the bell tower still stands tall. Too tall. Like it's watching over everything, or waiting. The people who live there never talk about it. They never go near it. And no one ever dares to ask why the bell hasn't rung in over 100 years. But everyone knows one thing for sure. That silence is the only thing keeping them safe. The belfry's dark history. They say the bell was once the pride of the village, forged by hand, carved with symbols no one could read, hung high above the chapel by men who are all long gone, and maybe that's a good thing, because something changed. One night, long ago, the bell rang non-stop for hours, no wind, no hands, just ringing, until people started screaming. No one remembers exactly what happened, or maybe they just don't want to. All that's known is this. By morning, half the village was gone. After that, the survivors sealed the belfry. They locked the tower shut with rusted chains, wrapped it in holy cloth, and marked the stone with warnings in dead languages. And from that day on, the bell never rang again. Some called it a curse. Others whispered about something that had been trapped inside, but most just agreed on one thing. Never go near the tower, and never ever break the seal. Arrival of the stranger years passed, then decades. The village stayed quiet, forgotten by the outside world. Until one day, someone came. He wasn't from the village. No one knew his name. Just a man in a long black coat, carrying a leather bag and a notebook full of questions. He said he was a historian, said he was researching old European churches. The villagers didn't like it, but they were polite. They let him stay. He walked the cobbled paths, took notes, sketched the church from a distance, always staring at the belfry, always asking questions that no one wanted to answer. They warned him, told him the tower was off limits, told him the bell hadn't rung in generations for a reason. But he didn't listen. To him, it was just a building, just stone and wood and myth, just another story to study. But the thing is, some stories aren't meant to be studied. Some are meant to be left alone. The bell rings again. Then, it happened. One night, just after midnight, the silence broke. The bell rang, once, then again, and again, loud, deep, echoing across the village like thunder through stone. People jumped from their beds, windows rattled, dogs howled, and in every home, one thought chilled them to the bone. The tower was sealed. The bell shouldn't ring. They ran to the church, torches in hand, fear in their eyes. But when they got there, the door was still chained. The ropes hadn't moved. And the bell? Silent again, as if nothing had happened. And the stranger? Gone. His room was empty. His notebook left open on the desk, filled with drawings of the belfry. And something else. Something with horns, eyes like burning coals, and a mouth that stretched too wide. That night, the village changed, and whatever had been sleeping above them was now awake. Supernatural incidents. Begin. After that night, things weren't the same. People started waking up in strange places, in fields, in the woods, even on rooftops. No memory of how they got there, just dirt on their feet and whispers in their ears. Children began drawing strange pictures, circles with eyes, towers burning, a shadow with horns standing above it all. One boy said, "He comes down when the bell rings." Animals disappeared. Chickens, dogs, even a cow. No blood, no tracks, just gone. And then there were the voices, low, muffled, coming from the belfry, even though no one had been inside. Some villagers swore they heard chanting. Others said it sounded like laughing. One old woman, the oldest in the village, claimed she saw something watching from the top window of the tower. Red eyes, sharp teeth, smiling. The next morning, she was gone. Her home was empty, bed untouched, no signs of struggle. Just her rosary, lying on the steps of the church, still warm to the touch. And from the belfry, just for a second, a bell rang. Once. Software. But enough to freeze everyone in place. Whatever had been sealed away was no longer alone. The legend revealed. The villagers had always whispered about the belfry, but no one had ever dared to speak the full truth. It was an old story, passed down through hushed voices, told in the dead of night when children weren't around. Long before the belfry was sealed, the village had been much larger, richer, flourishing under a different kind of rule, a dark rule. The elders had known about the bell's power. They'd known what it could summon. There was a time when the bell was used to call forth the entity, something ancient, a creature from beyond their world, a demon, an evil that had been waiting, watching. And when the bell rang, it woke. But the villagers, terrified of what they'd unleashed, had to trap it. They locked it in the tower. They sealed the belfry with chains and prayers. The bell was silenced, and the village became a shadow of its former self. But the legend had always warned, once the bell is rung again, the seal breaks. And that's exactly what the stranger had done. He didn't know it. He thought he was simply researching an old church. But the moment he stepped foot inside that tower, he broke the ancient seal. He pulled the rope that should have never been touched. He released it. The demon was loose again. And now, it wasn't just haunting the village. It was coming for the world. The stranger's mistake. The stranger never realized the weight of what he'd done. He had no idea that the belfry wasn't just a tower. It was a prison, a tomb. The bell wasn't there to summon visitors. It was a warning, a lock. When he first stepped into that tower, he thought he was unlocking history. But all he did was unlock hell. As the bell rang, he thought it was a fluke, a trick of the wind, maybe. But when he saw the drawings in his notebook, his own hand shaking as he drew the creature with the glowing red eyes, he knew something was wrong. By the time the villagers figured it out, it was too late. The demon wasn't in the tower anymore. It had slipped into the night, into the shadows. It had been released and it was hungry. The nightmares, the disappearances, the whispers, all signs that the creature had started to feed again. The stranger thought he could leave, thought he could escape the curse he'd unleashed. But when he tried to flee, he vanished. No footprints, no trace. Just his notebook, left open on the ground with one last chilling drawing. A silhouette standing at the edge of the village, staring back. Chilling. Closing statement. So, the next time you hear a bell ring in the distance, and there's no tower nearby, don't stop to look. Don't ask where it's coming from. Don't even try to understand. Because some things are better left forgotten. Some stories, better left untold. And some warnings aren't meant to be ignored. The belfry is still there, and whatever was released, it's still waiting. So remember this: some doors are never meant to be opened, and some bells should never be rung. Optional call to action. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to leave a like and hit subscribe, because there are more tales waiting, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. And if you've ever heard a strange sound, a whisper in the night, or seen something you couldn't explain, share your story in the comments. Who knows? You might just be part of the next legend. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.